como avaliar uma startup que vai dar empregos para milhões de pessoas e vai trabalhar com informações, com dados. Fique agora com mais uma análise de pitch. Great. So I haven't introduced myself. So I'm Augusto Tons and I'm an angel investor and a startup mentor. And once I have listened to your presentation and your pitch, what I like doing now is going back to the presentation and make comments, and we can discuss some points in part of the presentation. So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just for me to see if I understood correctly the idea, just checking here. The whole idea is to collect data. People, regular people, normal people will collect data through their cell phones. So they will take pictures of a store, a gas station, a lamp, anything that they can see on the streets. And they will upload the picture in the platform, and they will make money by providing this picture to the platform. Is that right?
So exactly, I just moved to switch to the next slide. Actually, they use our mobile application. So it's not like, for example, they are taking the picture of a shop and they are updating it, uploading it in the app. They are using directly our app to collect all of the informations.
So they don't need to take picture. They will enter in the app, and then they will have to take picture, or they will have just to record what they are seeing through the cell phone.
At the first step is that they will use the mobile application, and each time they want to add, for example, a data, so a store, for example, they will add all of the information linked to this store, so the name, the geolocation, and also to take a picture linked to this store. So all of this is handled directly within the mobile application.
Okay. So let's have an example here. In this picture we can see a store here. It's kind of a barber shop.
Yeah.
So I have the app here in my cell phone, and then I will position the app, the cell phone, in front of the store.
Yeah.
And I will take a picture of the front of the store, and I'll have to write, oh, this store is a barber shop Paris 2 is the name of the store. And it opens at 10 because I can see in the sign here, and it closes at 6.
Exactly.
And so it's all those informations, all those information are manually inputted in the app.
Exactly.
So once the information is included in the platform, they will be registered in the blockchain.
Yeah, so at that step right now, the solution is not decentralized. So we haven't built yet the blockchain structure. We are basing it on a traditional structure. The idea is, of course, to move to the blockchain for the trust I spoke before, and also the decentralization of the data ownership. But you're right. The data, once it's collected, the data appears on the map, and it appears on the map as a data to verify. So then another member of the community that will pass in the street will see, for example, this barbershop, and will have to confirm the information fulfilled by the one that gathered the information. And once the information are completed, so validated by 2 people, the data is considered as validated. And of course,
so we need 3 people in order to get the information officially in the app. The first
Two,
one
two.
is the one that has inputted.
Yeah.
The second one is the first validation, and the third one is the second validation.
No, for now we just make one validation, But the thing is that they cannot, for example, arrange themselves. For example, you cannot agree with a friend to make all of the validation he gathered. Simply because we have like some element, to prevent some fraudulent behavior, obviously. But yes, the logic is that one is collecting and another one is verifying the data. But each of the collector receives also a quality score. So in some way, more your work is validated or more you in some way make a good job, which is validated by a collaborative system, more your quality score will increase. And in some way, more you have a high quality score, more we know that you, for example, are a trusted collector. And in some way, a newcomer that will come on the tool, usually as we don't know, let's say the quality of this newcomer, his data going to be validated by a trusted collector. So that's how in some way we ensure that the data is almost at 100% verified. And in a second stage, each data receive what we so-called an accuracy rate, which decrease every month. So basically, this barbershop will be still available on the map, but after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, his accuracy will have decreased, which will incentivize another collector that will come also on the map on the street at this moment to keep it updated. So in some way, we'll have again to verify that all of the information are correct, and maybe the shop is not existing anymore. So maybe we'll have also to collect it again, for a new shop. And if those information are modified, then in some way, we also send another collector to verify it. And that's how we can ensure that the data is gathered, first of all. Secondly, it's verified, but over time, the actualization in some way ensure us to have a almost 100% accuracy on the collection made by people.
Oh, I see. And once, let's suppose that in the barber shop we have one guy that has registered and the other that validated. So it's 100% accurate because it's today. So after 2 months, the accuracy will go down to which level? 80%? 50?
Usually what we do, we consider that the data cannot be lower than 20% of accuracy. So what we use an accuracy rate for independent shop that is decreasing 5% per month.
Okay.
So after 3 months,
and
you're gonna have
then
50.
when it's 100% accurate, other people will not allowed to register it anymore or to validate it anymore, right? They will not receive any money if they validate 100%.
Of course not.
So if the barbershop is 95%,
yeah,
it's required another validation already or not?
If, for example, the months after you have the barbershop that is 95% accurate, you're going to have a collector that will have the possibility to keep it again at 100%, and in some way will have 5% of all the reward.
Oh, okay. So the percentage of the reward is related to the accuracy of the place. So if this place is not registered, they've got 100% of credit.
You got it. So that's why, for example, when the shop is changing, which is quite often in the urban landscape, the people that are getting more money because they collect new data.
I see.
You see? Okay. And of course, as you can imagine, we have people, we have the shop, they are collecting the data. This is the first step. The next step, this is the kind of feature we are implementing at the moment, is that the user will have the possibility to go directly to speak to the shop owner and propose to the shop owner to expose his shop on the map of Data.eum, where he will have the possibility to put promotion, online promotion, and reach the community of collectors that is already using the app of Data.io. And so in some way, if the shop is promoting on the map, the user that will have bring the shop on the map gonna get a reward, so a percentage, a commission on each exchange that will be realized between the shop and a member of the community.
So you
That's
have
how
sales people, all users will be your sales guy.
We have, in fact, a sales force, yes, but just by our user. No, of course, not all of them will do this, but some, yes.
Yeah. This is very good because you expand the ability to reach local companies.
Exactly.
However, on the other hand, there is a risk of this user is not very prepared, will not be very prepared, and then one good opportunity that this entrepreneur or the owner of the store would go in the platform, it will be ruined by an unqualified user that will try to get the entrepreneur to the platform. So there's these two sides of the coin.
Yeah, obviously, but on the other side, this element, for example, to reach directly the shop owner and propose him to promote on the platform will be accessible for the top collectors or the one that have also a high quality score. We will not propose it to all. They will have to prove also that they are valuable, of course.
Yeah, that mitigates the risk of unprepared users.
Of course.
Also, this is the first an idea that you can implement is that you can create a gamification in order to qualify the user to promote the app for local entrepreneurs. Like, oh, so you need to have few concepts that is important for you to bring the company to the platform. And if you reach the stage number 4 of your training, or you cannot call training, or you can give another name, but if you reach the stage number 4, you are able to get more rewards.
This is the kind of things that we do, for example, for the higher quality score user. For example, they have an additional reward. They can also verify from time to time, not always, their own data. They are incentivized. Also, they have access to other services, like I said, to directly reach the shop owner. And also, lastly, which I didn't mention, otherwise I said it's too long, but it is exactly in the vision for the next year. Some of our collectors will become workers. So for that, we will implement directly within the app some, augmented reality tool, but mostly some artificial intelligence, where we will invite those top collectors to become workers. What is a worker? A worker is a guy that simply uses the app and in some way is digitalizing, the real world from a pedestrian point of view. So in some way, it is the street map, but from the pedestrian point of view. The difference that they're using our mobile and they will just validate each street of their city. And this will enable us also to directly see if some local data have evaluated during the meantime between the verification or actualization and the moment where our workers are in the street. And this is the type of mission also we will provide them. And there is also a lot of other possibility, because really our focus was to say it's good, because when we did our pilot, we were receiving between 200 and 300 demands per day of people that wanted, to participate to the collection campaign. Indeed, it's very easy. All you need is your smartphone, and you can do it whatever you want. So it was very viral, and in some way, we understood that after that, we will need, to anticipate already on all the next evolution in the product, to keep this community engaged. And that's all of what we're doing. So yes, Data.io in the end is a map created by users. The only difference is that if I would have presented you, Augusto, we're going to make the first real map made by user you will have loved and saying it will not compete Google. We will never compete Google. We'll just provide the data to Google and others. Just that in the end, as we have user using our map, that are our collector, from this map, they can also access to some promotion offer that are directly, the result of the action from also our collectors used as a sales force. You're going to use also the map as a map.
Yeah.
And the magic in that also is the, let's say, the reward, because you have the reward where you have, like, as I said, 20% above the minimum salary per hour in any country in the world, no matter where you collect. So this is basically more attractive than working for McDonald's, just to take this example. And on the other side, we have already a return on investment that is at least from 1.5 to 2 from the licensing of the data to one player versus the cost of the data collection. So in other words, this licensing is made in a non-exclusivity licensing. So the licensing gives you the right to use this data for 1 year, but you need to renew it if you want to use it for the next year. And remember that we're also actualizing the data, which gives value to our tool. Of course, we're going to provide the data through an API. Right now, we provide directly the data. But on the second hand, you will have access to an actualized data all the time. And keeping in mind that when we are licensing the data, we are already above the break-even, but we can also multiply the profitability simply by just licensing to 2, 3, 4, 5 other data market players that are going to get this data. So that's how, in some way, we build the solution.
I see. And one question, I think, in the next slides. Let's go to the next one. Business model is just what you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to the next one.
Sure.
Yeah, talking about the market.
Yeah.
Because you need to address two problems. One is the user problem, that will need to log into the platform and use the platform in order to get the money. And the other one is the ones that you're going to use the data that you are going to sell.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the users. What's your strategy to increase the number of users on your application?
So we have two strategies. The first one is to attract purely collectors. So for that, we have already established a marketing budget, regarding the promotion. And
is there a slide where you mentioned that? I didn't remember.
There is a financial plan, in fact. It's not. I will just share my screen also. So what we have established is the marketing plan, to attract user, in fact, is divided into two categories. The first one is how we will attract collectors. So from this and from our experience, it was really easy. We just published some posts on Facebook or on some student job platform, and that's how we get access to this community. We reached like around 7,000 people, so was pretty good. And on the other side,
how much have you spent
to reach the 7,000?
How much? Sorry.
0.
0.
0. Yeah. You know why? Because the announcement on Facebook was really easy. For example, we contacted the University of Barcelona and we told them, okay, we have an attractive offer, for the students if they want to make money in their spare time. And they say, okay, fine. So we just published the announcement was, do you have a smartphone? Do you want to get paid for working in the street of your city? Contact us. And that's how we were receiving demands. And from the month to month, we were also receiving even more demand. So that's why we understood that we have to keep it like in some way, like not secret, but we have also to manage and handle with the virality of it, to not be victim of the scalability of our solution. So this was the first pilot, and we understood it like directly. And on the other side, as you understand, the platform will move step by step into also a promotion where user will have access to some promotional offers made directly by local partners, as you understand. And in this case, we will also have a marketing budget to attract users that are looking for geolocated promotion. Our idea was to say local players at the moment, or local retailers, have usually are using like services like Groupon to get access to a huge quantity of users. But our idea was to say, no, let's take the problem differently. You are a user, you are on the map, and you can see what do you have around you in terms of promotion regarding a restaurant, regarding a shop, and anything else, and to directly log into the app, and through this app to get access to these offers around you. The best example is that, I don't know if you already had lunch today, but if you will go to have lunch just after, you will probably go out of your building and maybe seeing some promotion where you have 10%, 20% on that day, and maybe you will go to it there. And our idea is also to attract users for this kind of promotions. So that's why in some way our budget is splitted between those two elements. So if I just share you some of the elements regarding the acquisition, yes, this acquisition is moving year after year simply because we are acquiring more and more users for the tool, generally speaking. But regarding the collectors, it's mainly a social media marketing promotion that we're going to use. I don't know if I was clear, but this is like pretty much the evolution of the community that we anticipate already. So this is the 500 starting from Paris, of course. So I'm not including the 7,000 people because we still have them in the database actually. And we expect to have and to reach this number also only with 10,000 people like end of 2020, because what we want also to highlight is the force of our model. We are able to collect a city like Paris or Sao Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, for example, just in less than 2 months and a half or 3 months maximum. And we just need a few hundreds of people for that. We don't need to have like 10,000, 20, 40,000 people for each city. So this is also the good thing of the service, is that we also need only a niche in terms of community. But as we know that this service is very viral, we receive demand every day, even if we don't make promotion, simply because people are speaking around them. Yeah. And on the other side, starting from the next step of the project where we'll have real promotion online, then we will have a strategy of new user acquisition, which is the line 22 on my screen, where you can see that this community will be increasing step by step. So first thing is gathering, verifying the data. So mapify in some way different cities. And then the next move is obviously to promote the tool itself for consumer point of view.
I see. And how much do you pay for each contribution?
Yeah, so the payment is made for each attribute validated. For example, let's consider that you took the good name, you gathered the good name of the barbershop, but you didn't get the correct phone number. In this case, how do we know it? Because when your data are going to be verified, the collector that's going to verify your data will say, okay, the name is correct, but the phone number is not the correct one. So he will input a new phone number, and this is a third collector that just going to judge whether your phone number or the phone number put by the second collector is the correct one. But so when you have a whole set of data that is correct, you have a reward that, as I said, is variable between the different countries. For example, in France, we are speaking about 35 cents of euro for the whole cost, which is divided by 70% for the one that collected the data, so that the one that input the data, and 30% for the one that verified the data. So the average per data is around 22. So in dollars, it makes 25 to 26 cents of US dollar for each data collected, and around 14 cents for each data verified.
I see.
And we consider that data we have different type of collectors. The
And
one that
how
yeah,
much money are you gonna make roughly, obviously,
yeah,
on each
sure.
data that you collected? Because the count
Well,
that I want to make on my mind is, okay, so I spend $14, 14 cents for each
yeah,
data,
yeah,
plus 20 for
20,
the
50
data
cents.
input, and then I
Yeah,
have 30, 36, 35, let's say
40,
40
40.
cents
Yeah,
for each data. How
yeah.
much I will charge for this information?
The market price is around 80 cents, and us we make it at 60 to 70 cents for each player.
Okay. So
So in
you
fact,
have
we are more
roughly
aggressive. Sorry.
50, you have roughly two times of
Yes.
contribution margin.
That's why we say that the return on investment is between 2 and 10. 10 simply because if we license it to 4 players, we reach 10.
Okay. I see, Michael. I think that this idea is very interesting.
Thank you,
I
Augusto.
believe that there will be a huge population unemployed that will want to join the platform. So, in the point of view of the users, you have a market to explore, and I believe that it is a real change in their lives. And on the other hand, a lot of people could buy the data and the information,
Mhm.
mainly if they are accurate, which it seems that it will be possible. I have some concerns still on this side because I didn't understand exactly some risks, but I believe that it's not, there's no time enough now for us to talk about it. But I'd like to understand better and talk to you again next time.
Yeah, sure. Let me know when maybe you want to have a call. I can send you the presentation and the financial plan,
Yeah,
and maybe
please.
we can plan a call in the next couple of days if you want.
Great. Okay, Michael.
It was
Nice
nice
to
to speak
talk to
with you,
you.
Augusto. The same.
Let's be in touch. Have a
Sure.
nice day.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Se você gostou desse vídeo, deixe seu like. Se você tem algum comentário, alguma pergunta, pode deixar aqui abaixo. Se você quer compartilhar essa informação com alguém que você acha que vai precisar dessa informação, fique à vontade em fazê-lo. E para assistir o pitch completo do empreendedor, basta continuar assistindo. Grande abraço. Tchau, tchau.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the name of the project is Dataium. So to imagine a little bit more about Dataium, you just have to think about Uber, but for local data. So what is it in practice? It's a blockchain-based platform where we have implemented a solution using crowdsourcing that reward people for collecting any physical data around them. So what is physical data? Physical data is basically an outdoor local data. For example, a store, a vending machines, a gas station, basically any element that you might see in the urban landscape. So as you can see, we have a distributed workforce of collectors paid for collecting this data. So how does it work in practice? They are using our mobile application that is available at the moment, of course, where they are collecting and verifying several information for each physical data. So of course we have the name, the opening hours, the category, the contact details, and obviously the photo of the storefront. So what do we do after that with this data? We just make it accessible on our marketplace, and we license it to different type of market players. So the biggest example is obviously the digital map, such as Google, TomTom, here, Microsoft Bing, but as well any type of local player dealing with this local data. Could be a global company like Groupon that regularly is buying some data to send after that to their sales force in order to optimize the conversion rate or for any telemarketing action. But you can also imagine that this data is also useful for a local producer. Let's take the example of a local producer of a hair dryer that is looking for precisely reaching like a certain area, for example, of Sao Paulo, and reach all the hairdressers in this area, it will have the possibility also to reach this data through this platform. So this solution is global and not exclusively only for the top global players. So in terms of market, obviously we are part of the data market, and this physical data market is estimated at $250 billion. Can detail, of course, how we retrieve these figures, obviously. And what do we bring, in fact, on this market, and why do we, let's say, are we focusing on this market? First of all, this data has two issues on the market. First of all, this data has an issue regarding its accessibility, first of all, and secondly, regarding its accuracy. Globally, you have less than 30% of all the stores in the world that are currently displayed online. And this with a really low accuracy. So to let's say, to prove it, we take the example of the US market, where you have on all the retailers that are displayed online, you have 50% of them that propose some incorrect or missing information online. Could be the geolocation, could be the photo of the storefront, could be the opening hours, and so on. So how do we, let's say, answer these issues? In fact, we have been inspired by a very popular game, which was Pokemon Go. I'm pretty sure that you remember about that period, where you had people everywhere in the world, in the streets, going to collect some Pokemons, without any incentive. And we understood that this data market has this issue of accessibility. So our idea was to say, okay, with using crowdsourcing, with using a workforce of users paid to collect this data, first of all, we can access to all of this data. For example, in pedestrian area where the Google car, for example, cannot go, even in desertic area. So we simply understood that by incentivizing this population, we will be able to target this data. This is the first thing. So by using crowdsourcing, we can access to all of this data. The accuracy is ensured by our model and some proof of processes that we have implemented regarding, of course, the data validation, because our community is paid for collecting this data, for verifying it, and lastly, for actualizing it. Why actualizing it? It's simply because in the world, you know that 95% of the urban landscape is composed by independent shop owners. And the global statistics is the following. You have 75% of the independent shops that are closing within 18 months after the creation. So the actualization of this data is probably the most crucial element at the moment. And lastly, of course, we decentralize the process to bring trust regarding the market, to bring trust on the data, on the acquirers that will get this data. And that's how, in some way, we are linking the crowdsourcing with the blockchain to ensure, let's say, a high quality of data. So I just continue. So, of course, we have proven our solution. We have developed an MVP and realized 3 pilots in Paris, Barcelona, and London that are basically considered as mature cities. And let's say we have highlighted, let's say, the efficiency of our solution has 40% of all the data we have collected were not displayed on Google Maps, without talking about the accuracy, because this we didn't gather like the exact statistics, but many of them, of course, were not even accurate. And lastly, we have licensed this data to 2 partners, TomTom and Yellow Pages. And while we were, let's say, speaking with some other potential partners like Google, Microsoft, Foursquare as well, receiving some demands globally, we understood that the solution we had implemented was, like, let's say, the key to answer this global issue that was profitable, viral also, because in average, the reward is 20% above the salary per hour in any country of the world. So this is basically an attractive solution and a very flexible solution, because we are targeting mostly a population that, let's say, is composed by students at the moment. Not all of the students are able to take, let's say, a part-time job or a crowdsourcing job, working for Deliveroo, for example, or Glovo, simply because you know that for this kind of services, you have to work for certain hours in a row per day or per week. So our idea was to say, okay, we want to give an attractive reward for people, but on the other side, to offer them a full flexibility. And as you can imagine, the physical data, is always here. You don't need any order, so you can take it and you can collect it or verify it for 10 minutes of your day or for 2 hours. This is fully flexible on your side. So that was the idea in the type of population we are right now reaching, actually. So this is just a small example of our solution that is currently running in the center of Paris. So on the top bottom right, you can see the map of Data.io and a comparison with the 3 biggest players in the world. We didn't include Microsoft because at the moment you have mostly Google Maps, Apple Plan, and of course here is not so well known as a brand, but this is the third map in the world. They, for example, provide the maps for Ali Map, for WeChat as well. So they have quite a big exposure. It was previously the map of Nokia. So of course, as you can see on this different example, we have highlighted like some of the data that we are gathering, the other not. And I have a couple of examples, and I'm speaking about the very central of Paris, which is probably one of the most touristic area in the city, and some shops that do not have the correct name on Google, or even some shops, some restaurants that do not have even the photo of the storefront or access to the opening hours, which we can. So to summarize the solution, as you understand, we use crowdsourcing for reaching 100% of the solution. We use the decentralization in some way to prove the accuracy also to the market. Why to the market? I insist on this matter because when Google, for example, is acquiring data, for example, in Sao Paulo, and look for actualizing the data in this city, they are usually getting these data through 2 to 3 external data providers. Why to 2 or 3 external data provider? It's simply because all of the players in the market at the moment are usually generating this data through the same digital method, analyzing the online content and other, like, let's say, technical stuff. But the reality is that on our side, we are the only player at the moment that is gathering this data directly on the ground. And in some way, as you have a huge, let's say, lack of trust regarding the data providers in general on the market, in some way, by using the blockchain, we just give the proof that our data are reliable for the market. And in some way, for players like Google, Microsoft, Yellow Pages, for example, they know that they can access to our data, and by the decentralization, that they will not need in some way to also buy some external other data to, let's say, to match them between them, and in some way, our solution represents also huge savings on the budget regarding the data acquisition for the different players. And of course, lastly, as I said, we make this data accessible to anyone, local like global players. In terms of expansion, but of course I got some financial elements. So of course we have a strategy right now that is focused mostly in Europe and Asia at the moment. We are targeting to answer probably the question you will wonder, all the, let's say, the region we call LATAM for the 2021. We have a strategy where we start all the time by the biggest cities in each territory. So for example, at the moment, our app is available in France. We are focusing in Paris, but the app is basically available in all the territory of France. Right after, we have in the target Berlin, Ho Chi Minh, New Delhi, Seoul, London, Madrid. This is for the next year in terms of targets. The reason why also we are targeting these cities, it's simply because either we have already signed a partnership with some partners, or we have already the verbal agreements or interest and demand on some other areas, which is, for example, the case for Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, where we're currently speaking with Google regarding these cities, as they have a strong focus there. In terms of financial elements, we have a profitable model. And the reason why we are currently reaching different investors around the world, first of all, is because the business is global. So we look basically for ambitious investors, obviously. Secondly, we have a model where, as you understand, we pay people for collecting the data. Then when we have the data, we provide it to the partners, and then the partners are paying us. So we might have a gap of few months between the moment where we will pay the collectors and the moment where we're going to receive the payment from the different partners. So that's the reason why we are also looking for investment. It's because we need to finance this cash flow. And of course, in the meantime, we look for already anticipate on the next evolution of our app. As you can imagine, having thousands of people in one city, collecting data, verifying and actualizing it is one thing, but how to engage the community over time? I think that this is the biggest issue of all the crowdsourcing services. And on our side, we have a couple of elements in our vision that answer to the community engagement over time, which is key for us in our success and in our expansion in the future. About the team, as I was speaking before, so I'm Michael, so the third guy here. Basically, I have a financial background that I get in Paris during my studies, and during the last 10 years, I have been running my own company, so a company that I founded in 2008 exactly, which had a purpose, to bring on the market insurance and credit comparison services. I know that in Brazil you have a couple of some. I spoke at that time with one guy running it in Brazilian market. In my case, I did it, in Central European countries, starting by Poland. So the business went pretty well. We sold the company in 2015 to Aviva, the insurance company. And I ran the company for 2 years after that, and with an exit, and the company valuation was at that time 10 million euro. And regarding my two co-founder, Charlie and Billy Pham, so we are all French, despite of our family name. I know that maybe you might wonder, but my two friends, Charlie and Billy, we have basically the same education. So we met at the university, and right after our studies, in some way they started also their business, but in the retail business. And in fact, they built a network of franchise in the center of Paris. And the idea of Dataum is in some way linked to their story, because while in 2016 they were looking for, getting more exposure for their shops and restaurants mostly, they were just looking on the maps, and they understood that we had a kind of lack of visibility, of course. And as you can imagine, when you have 10 shops in the center of Paris, considering that 50% of them are not displayed on Google Maps, you can just wonder why. So their first idea was to work on a solution to bring more visibility to the local players, but they rapidly understood that the most valuable element was the data that was in high demand from the different players. And they just had the idea, as I said before, following Pokemon Go and the development of the sharing economy, to put in some way human at the center of this data generation. So when I say that we developed an MVP, in fact, they developed an MVP. I first invested in the project, and after that, I joined them fully operationally when I finished, as you can understand, my transition with Aviva. And of course, Alain, which is also someone that is from our close network. It was one of my friends at the high school, if you want exactly the precision. And he had been at the head of IT for a couple of projects, from the e-commerce platform, from the web TV, web radio as well, app development. And of course, he developed some skills since 2 years and a half right now in blockchain development. So he's basically quite qualified, for this technical matter. And as you can imagine, I have also myself, by running an IT company for 10 years, a couple of experience in terms of IT and data building. So that's where I think that we have this ground and digital vision and point of view. And I think that we are a good bridge between those two worlds. Regarding the funding itself, just to summarize as well, yeah. So the interest, of course, is that we have been able to create a solution with the incentivizer. So we propose that is really attractive in terms of community building. Secondly, the solution is obviously efficient. Thirdly, it is based on a profitable model, and is also able to bring something also new on the market regarding the accessibility to this data. Last point that I didn't precise in my presentation to not make it too long. We are also decentralizing the data ownership. So as you can understand, people are paid for gathering, verifying the data, but they will have also the possibility to get access to the data ownership. So in other words, as you know, the physical data and outdoor data is by definition an opt-in data. I mean, it's a public data that can be owned by anyone. So our idea was to say, okay, instead of having this data owned only by one database, one big players, we will also incentivize people to buy for this data on our marketplace. And each time this data going to be licensed, the owner of the data is going to be rewarded for the revenue generated by the licensing of the data. And in some way, by this, you can, for example, Augusto, own all the shops, all the stores in the streets next to your house in Sao Paulo. And each time this data are going to be licensed to any players, you as the owner, you're going to be rewarded. And of course, as you understand, we create a new way for people to generating money and so on. So as you understand, this solution is not limited, for example, only for big cities or only for people living in big cities, but we had recently like discussions, and basically we even signed an agreement with Action Against Hunger, the NGO, because for them, they see our solution as a good way, you know, to mapify all the refugee camps that they have, where they need to get access, you know, to where is the exact geolocation, for example, from the pharmacy, the supermarket, the doctors, the hospital, and so on, because refugee camps are also small cities. And as well, we have also the kind of discussion in for the mapification of all the region, like in South Africa, where you have those area like Soweto that are not accessible. I guess that it's exactly the same with the favelas, in some favelas, I guess, in Brazil, where the accessibility to all of those local data are just impossible for the traditional players. But by incentivize the local population, you can imagine that the planification of the mapification, of all of those areas is really facilitated. So just to finish, and sorry I was a little bit long, we have like two ways to invest in our company. So as you understand, there's the token investment, there is the equity investment. Just to be totally transparent with you, we are mostly speaking about equity at the moment. Okay. Our target is 1.5 million US dollar based on a 6 million valuation. So if you have any question, maybe let me know if you want me to come back also on some matters, and maybe what is your opinion about it.